So, hello, here we are again. I want to talk a little bit more about Schoenberg. I want to take an example from the Piano Concerto, Opus 42. It's a relatively late work. He wrote it when he was living in the United States. Um, and let me play you the first theme of this concerto. So if you saw the video I did about the string quartet, I told you that the melody was a 12-tone row. This is also a 12-tone row. It's a specific ordering of the 12 notes of the chromatic scale. In this case, he's using it to make a nice little melody. I'm going to play this melody again. Okay. So why does he do this? Why does he or more specifically, how does he use this row? Well, first off, you may recall from either from me or from music school that when you're using a 12-tone row, you're not supposed to repeat any of the notes once you've used them until you've gone through all the other notes. So, you know, okay, this F here, I can't come back to that F until I've cycled through all of these notes. Okay, but look what he does here. You hear that? Okay, he plays each of these notes more than once. Why does he do that? Well, I would suggest it's simply because his ear is telling him to do that. It doesn't sound very good to just blast through all the notes all the time. Sometimes he wants to hang out in a certain region of the notes for a while. In this case, it kind of sounds like he's in A major for a measure or so. Although the harmony underneath doesn't imply A major at all. That's not something Schoenberg would ordinarily do. But anyway, another interesting thing that he does with this particular melody is it's, if I were writing a textbook, I would say it was rich with developmental motivic possibility or something like that. There's all kinds of stuff in here that's identifiable. The melody is pretty catchy and singable by itself. Okay, you can sing it. It's easy to sing along to. You can put words to it if you wanted to. And also there's very distinctive little moments in it which you could pick out and do something with. Right off the bat, there's a descending fourth, a perfect fourth. And he does a lot with fourths in this concerto. Surprisingly, a lot of the harmonies are chords constructed out of fourths. I don't hear this many fourth chords in a piece by Schoenberg, usually. But, you hear a lot of these. A lot of what we call chordal harmonies built out of fourths. That doesn't seem usual for him. When I first heard it, I thought, wow, this is really strange. It sounds like Copland or Hindemith or maybe William Schumann, some American composers that were into using fourths at the time. But he derives it from the row and makes harmonies out of it. Another one is... oops. This here, it's a seventh descending. Kind of jumps out at you. It's this little bump in the middle of this otherwise kind of linear lyrical melody. He actually has a lot of fun taking that seventh and throwing it around. You hear moments where the orchestra plays the seventh and then the soloist plays the seventh, sometimes going in opposite directions. So once again, he's calling attention to the fact that he's using an inversion or a retrograde, by putting them right next to each other, right in close proximity. He uses... now, these four notes, I can't tell when he's inverting the entire row. Although, boy, there are parts where he uses other themes, and he's doing an inversion of the melody, and you really hear it really sounds similar. It really sounds like all of the melodic material is coming out of this one melody, but. Obviously, I can't keep track well enough to hear when he's doing the whole row in inversion. But I've kind of practiced this, and I listen for this kind of thing, and that motive he plays all kinds of stuff with that, and he makes it very clear. There's parts. That's the inversion of it. In fact, that's the very end. The last thing right before the last chord, the low brass. You hear him go. Whoops. Ends on a C major chord with an E in the bass. Strange. That's the end of the piece. And these four notes are played in inversion. I think he tries to keep a lot of this stuff right on the surface, where just a casual listener can pick it up. I don't know, maybe not so casual. You have to put some effort in. I find it's worth it. I find I discover something new every time I listen to this piece. It's different every time. I know that when I listen to it tomorrow, it won't be the same piece that I listened to yesterday. That's what I find. That's what I think is good about that's how I tell a great composition, is if it rewards me with repeated listenings, for whatever reason. There's a lot of I get different things from different music, but if I can listen to it for years and still be moved by it or be captivated by it, that's a good composition. Okay, I don't know what your criteria are, but that's one of mine for sure. Now, I was discussing with a friend whether or not there's clear harmonic rhythm in Schoenberg, and I cited this piece as an example. Now, what does that mean, harmonic rhythm? Well, for us jazzers, it's chord changes. Okay, sometimes the chord changes go by one chord per bar, sometimes two per bar. Sometimes there's one chord that lasts for more than one measure. Okay, that's harmonic rhythm. It's how long the chords last. And I think in a lot of Schoenberg's music, you can hear, even though it's 12-tone and it's atonal, and it's not built around a specific key, you can hear that he's using this harmony for a measure, and then this harmony for a measure, and then, and so on. In this piece, it feels very clear to me. Okay, now maybe you hear it differently. If you do, let me know. I'm very curious about this kind of thing. But to me, it sounds like chord changes. Okay, so let me just try to play this for you. It's a little tricky. The left hand jumps around a bit. Okay, now to me, this is what it sounds like. It sounds like there's a chord being played here, and then a chord change, and then another chord, and then he goes through the chords quicker. It's been every 3 beats. Now the harmonic rhythm is every 2 beats. Okay, and not only is he changing every 2 beats versus every 3, he also recycles some of these chords. And he goes back to the first chord. So he plays this, and then this, and then this. Okay, so he's not just rambling around a new chord all the time. He's bringing stuff back, so that as a listener we can attach to something. And there's one more thing I wanted to show you in the accompaniment here. Right here. Okay, he goes buried in the accompaniment, and then the melody. Okay, accompaniment. Melody. What's that? Oh, it's the retrograde inversion. Okay, step up, step down, step up. Okay, backwards and upside down. He wants you to hear that. That's what Schoenberg wants you to listen for. That's what you're supposed to hear in this music. These little back and forth relationships. Okay, I can hear that really easily. Now it's way down low in the accompaniment. It's kind of rumbly. So this isn't the clearest example, even though it's written very clearly. Texturally, it's buried a little bit and hard to hear. In this piece, there's stuff right under your nose where it's this and this, retrograde, original, inversion, and just right there. He wants you to hear that, and it is fun. It's really I enjoy listening to this stuff, and it's not just like you're sitting there, there's one, not just skeet shooting. He messes with your expectation. Sometimes he'll play these notes like he's coming back with the theme, but he goes somewhere else with it. Oh, by the way, listen to the first movement of this piece. How many times do you hear that melody? How many times do you hear it played? Exactly. The whole theme, those measures, repeated verbatim from beginning to end. I count about 5. Okay, just in the first movement. It's played in the piano, and then the strings come in a couple of measures later, and then it's transposed, and it's in the strings with the woodwinds, and then at the end of the movement it's played again by the strings. And then 2 more movements go by, and then way at the end, right before the coda of the entire concerto, it's played again. I was listening to it just as I was falling asleep. I was almost asleep the other night. I was listening to it, and I noticed something that was going on right before the final return of this theme. And I won't describe exactly what's happening because I'd love for you to discover it on your own. But if you listen really close, he does something really cool for about 30 seconds, working into the final repeat of this theme. It's very cool. And I listened to this piece for probably 10 years before I caught it, and then I was like, wow, that was really awesome. So there you go. Please, there should be a link somewhere that you can see. Go listen to this piece. There's a great recording on YouTube of this piece by Uchida. Listen to it. Let me know what you hear. Please write whatever you think in the comments. I'd appreciate that. So thanks a lot.